It's really hard to focus. It's not very steady tonight. Let's see if I put in some denoise, if that helps. Okay, so now let me see. Atmosphere is really showing itself tonight. The sun doesn't set. Oh, maybe the sun just set. Let's see. The sun sets tonight at 9:57. 19:57. Yeah, so the sun is setting right now. I'm just waiting for it to get dark to try something besides the moon and the planets. Let's see if I can get the air coming out of my closet blowing on me, maybe. This is one of the first times I've been using this camera. The skies have really been terrible. Today I had sun earlier, and I saw absolutely no detail at all in the sun with this camera, with the signature. It was just, there was so much haze in the sky, it was ridiculous. Let's see, I have the gamma. Let's see, it's white balance off. White balance is off. Exposure. Could be enough haze in the sky that the haze is causing that fluctuation in the appearance of the moon. Because the exposure times are extremely short. Okay, gamma. For the sun, I was using gamma at 22 and contrast at 7. And saturation around 2 to 3. So that's where I have it right now. Like I said, the gain is actually set to minimum, gain 1. Hi, Graham. Trying the new HD-10. I gotta lower the exposure or lower something. It's really a little too bright. Maybe lower the gamma. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Maybe a tad higher. Okay. Yeah, the atmosphere has really been the pits for like the last 2+ weeks. This is actually a production one. I finally got some production cameras the other day, and this is one of the production models. I'll be sending Rock the prototype back. So far I've shipped out several to people for use on the solar eclipse. One gentleman has two going to him. He's going to be in the Grand Tetons doing an eclipse, and the other one's in South Carolina at a university in South Carolina. Let me try zooming in a little. Yes, it should. Let me see if I can pull this down. Northeast is, yeah, pull the Sea of Crises in. You can see how everything is shimmering. And this is only a 3 millisecond exposure with the gain set to minimum. And I'm estimating I'm around f4, maybe a little bit slower. I have the 2-inch 0.75 rich accretion focal reducer in the scope, so that's f6. Then I have the MFR 6 focal reducer on the camera, which would get it down to f4.8. But then I have a 10 millimeter spacer between the MFR 6 and the camera, so I'm somewhere between f4.8 and f4 probably. Oh, well, yeah, in fact, I ordered something from Brian the other day also. One of the cast metal brackets on my CPC 1100 tripod that holds the spreader cracked the last night of the Grand Canyon Star Party. And I ordered from Brian one of his machined spreader assemblies. And he said after going to Starfest, he had a ton of orders the same day I placed my order for the spreader assembly. I've been telling people it's like Rip Van Winkle. People have been sleeping for 20 years and finally woke up and they realize there's an eclipse next month, and now they want to buy and have stuff shipped ASAP. So I'm using the zoom feature over here on the yeah. Well, I'm not in a rush because I told him, I said I'm not using that tripod mount for the eclipse. I'm using the AZQ6 that I got from him many years ago. I'm taking it with two solar scopes mounted on top of it in parallel, and it has his machined aluminum spreader and tray, and the feet, his adjustable feet. It's really nice, his machine work. Oh, the one that on my CPC, it's cracked. I heard it pop when I was putting the tripod away the last night at the Star Party, and when I looked at it last weekend, it's definitely broken. I could try some JB Weld to hold it together, but I didn't want to take a chance of having a catastrophic failure with a scope mounted on top. Yeah, for what a spreader assembly costs, that's cheap insurance. The atmosphere's not too bad. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit more on the Sea of Crises. Right now, there's no mount sitting on top of it. Uh, I was using my Evolution 8 mount, an 8-inch scope on top of it at the Grand Canyon. I like the CPC tripod because it's a much sturdier, heavier tripod, uh, and the Evolution mount fits perfectly on top of it. Uh, but right now, I have the Evolution tripod on the mount in the house until I can replace the spreader. I don't know what level of zoom I'm in right now. It's the program doesn't show you the zoom level, but I've zoomed in a few times. Let me zoom in once more. Let's see what happens. Okay. I mean, I think now it's really falling apart. I'll back out one. Yeah. It wasn't too bad at this zoom level. I just sent a message to Micheline for her to let Rock know I'm actually broadcasting with it right now. So he asked her to ask me what I was broadcasting. I said, well, I'm doing the moon right now. He's got a ton of people up at Foymont right now. Says it's the biggest crowd he's ever had up there. I'm going to go back to fit to width. There it is, and that's the full width. You can tell it's a true HD camera because of the ratio. It's 16:9 ratio. Let me see if I can find a very small Jupiter. I had it earlier, but it is really small because of the focal reduction I have. I was using the scope the other night and looking at Jupiter at f8, and it was very nice. So let me go to Jupiter. Yeah, like I said, today we had about 2 inches of rain yesterday evening about 6 o'clock, and I would have figured that that much rain would have scrubbed the atmosphere. But when I got up this morning and did solar, there was no detail visible on the sun. So let me go to Jupiter, slew to, and center in chart.
Telescope slewing to target.
And there's a small Jupiter.
Telescope slew complete.
Okay. So let's see what I can do to tweak out Jupiter. I need probably a little bit longer exposure. That's 5 milliseconds, and let me. Sure did. It was. Oh, and it got really hot today. It was like 93, 95 degrees. It was, yeah. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, but as the sun set, it's gotten a little bit better. Let's see if I can increase the saturation one notch. maybe 2 notches. What is up on Jupiter right now? Let's see. Is there anything supposed to be on the surface? The red spot is supposed to be coming on the disk right there. Ideally, if I was looking at Jupiter, I'd take all the focal reducers out, but I want to leave them in for later. So let's go. What I'm using is the Pro version of the Epic pen. The Pro version allows using your keyboard to type, so you don't have to use your mouse to try to draw on the screen. You still could use the mouse if you want to draw curvy lines uh, and try to write cursive with the mouse, but you don't have to. You now use the keyboard. Which scope you getting? Oh, Evolution 8? That is such a fun grab and go scope. Did you get the Star Sense, or do you already have a Star Sense? Right, I didn't get the HD. You don't need the H. Well, I generally use the Hyperstar lens, and if you're going to use Hyperstar lens, it doesn't pay to invest in the HD optics because you're going to take the secondary out and not use the corrector built into the baffle tube. If you're going to do imaging out the back end of the scope, then yeah, getting the HD optics would be beneficial. Well, the scope is made for Hyperstar. So at any date in the future, you could just buy a Hyperstar and just throw it right on, and there's no conversions necessary to the telescope. That's the one thing. Celestron is now making all of their scopes Hyperstar ready. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday who has had a few Hyperstars. Yeah. Let me look. Let's see. Where's my emails? I have to see. Graham, I just got an email from Dave Yates. It says your spreader will get into the mail over the weekend, all packed, just stupid busy on a work road trip. Dave. Mm-mm-mm. Let me get get my eraser out. Let's see if I can zoom in let me get back to the, and zoom once more. I don't know if it's going to be totally a waste. That's not too bad. Let me increase the saturation. Maybe the red spot will pop out more. Really raising the saturation high. So let me go back and draw that line. Yeah, one of the extra features in this version of Epic Pen is the ability to draw a straight line. But yeah, the red spot is coming rolling onto the surface below that belt. And the sky is still bright, bright blue. Make sure the scope is still centered in the slit. Oh yeah. I'll walk outside for a second and see that it's still clear. Not bad. There's a row of clouds down by Sagittarius and Capricorn, low in the southeast. But hopefully they won't interfere later. Let me see if I can try to bring these belts out a little. Oh, okay. Yeah, raising the black point a little bit. Let me lower the saturation a notch or so. Okay. Drop the saturation another notch. There's a lot of lurkers tonight. I announced on the Malincam group and on my NSN Facebook page that I'd be broadcasting about 8:30. So, yeah, I started a little early. Let me go back to the moon. Let me clean up this. Erase. Okay. Okay, so let me go back to the moon. moon.
Telescope flew into target. Telescope slew complete.
Did I miss the moon? Oh, I'm zoomed in. Let me zoom all the way out. There it is. Okay, so now let me and then let me lower the exposure because I only needed about a 2 or 3 millisecond for it. Okay. Reduce the saturation. There it is. Let me increase the exposure a tenth of a millisecond. Okay, there it is. All right. All right. And then let me been planning the trip to for the eclipse. Got everything routed from here to the eclipse site in Tennessee and then back home. What we have to do now is get clear skies in Tennessee in the middle of August. That will be interesting. Graham, how's the image looking on your end? I mean, the moon is a little soft because of atmospheric conditions. Yeah, the atmosphere is steadying down. What crater is that? Let me call up my moon map. Virtual moon map. Okay, that's so Langrenus. Okay, that's Langrenus right here. So let me name that tune. And then draw an arrow to it, and then see if I can focus a little better. Okay. Let me go in one more zoom. And then let me move it over. And see if I can focus better. I have the Rigel Insys focuser on this scope. Okay. Yes, I was at the dentist today, and she had gone up to a city in Illinois, and they are advertising the fact that the eclipse in 3 weeks passes directly over them, and the eclipse in 7 years passes directly over them. And the odds of a location on Earth having two total eclipses pass directly over them is phenomenal. And the one in 20, the one that it rocks is going to be over 4 minutes in duration. This one's only like 2.5 minutes. If I'm still around, hopefully I'll be somewhere along that path. I have friends that live in Texas, right near the path. Let me zoom in one more. Okay, so now, okay. Okay. I don't think it's dark enough to look for anything deep sky. I gotta find something bright and deep sky in the west, maybe. I have a video running. Let me stop this. It's like almost 40 minutes long. Let me stop this one.